For 17 years, swimming gave my life direction. Every day had a purpose, and every decision was made with one single question in mind. Will this make me a better swimmer? And then I retired, and within weeks, my phone became my life.
If you're picking up your phone more than 100 times a day, this isn't about willpower. Willpower doesn't work. It's about something way, way deeper than that. And by the end of this video, you understand exactly what it is your phone is trying to replace and how you can fill that void with something much more purposeful. Let's get into it.
So, as I was saying earlier, for 17 years, swimming was more than a sport for me. It was my direction, it was my focus, it was my compass, and every decision pointed me towards that one thing, and that is to becoming the best swimmer that I could be. 5 a.m. alarms, hours spent in the pool, every single meal was planned, and every hour had a purpose and meaning. I wasn't just moving through the days, the weeks, the months. I was actively moving towards something. And that's what really made it so impactful. But here's something that I didn't realize at the time. Having these long-term goals, they don't just give your life direction, but it also fills you with something much more meaningful and much more something deep, something strong. My phone existed, I used it, but it was a tool, and it wasn't a trap. And just because every day I had somewhere more important to be, something more important to build, my phone was just that, my phone. But there's this feeling that you get when you're working towards something that really matters. When you see the progress over the months and the years, when you know that what you're building towards is worthwhile and what you're doing today will show tomorrow, that's what swimming gave me. And it provided me with a lot of deep and lasting satisfaction. And that's something that my phone could never give me. And my whole swimming career culminated in 2024, where I had my chance to qualify for the Olympics. I gave it my all. I tried so hard, but I didn't make it. I didn't qualify, and I didn't stop swimming immediately after that. I kept going, and because swimming is about more than just one race. It's more about just one goal. It was my purpose and my way of bettering myself every single day. But eventually I knew the time had come and that it was time to retire from competition. And that's when it really happened. After 17 years of being a competitive swimmer and using swimming as my compass, as my purpose, within a month, maybe two, my phone took over. It wasn't just a tool anymore. It was literally everywhere. I was scrolling Instagram at breakfast. I was watching YouTube videos at every single break that I had. I was checking news at 10 p.m. instead of reading and going to bed. Literally hours just disappeared into my screen. I'd scroll for 2 hours and feel absolutely nothing. Just emptiness, complete hollowness. And what I realized is that my phone was trying to fill that void that swimming had left behind. And scrolling could never replace something that was so rewarding and so deep and so satisfying. Because in swimming, I was working towards goals for years, and those are meaningful goals. While scrolling is just shallow, instant dopamine hits with absolutely zero fulfillment. And, my brain knew the difference. I could scroll for hours and still feel like I had accomplished nothing. And here's what I want you to understand. You are not addicted to your phone because you're weak or you don't have enough willpower. You're just addicted because you lack purpose. Research shows that when people lack a clear and meaningful goal, smartphone addiction increases. So it's not about the phone itself. It's about the phone not having anything better to compete with for your attention. Maybe you weren't an athlete like I was, but if you can, I want you to think about, have you ever had something that consumed your attention in a good way? Maybe a project that you couldn't stop thinking about, or a goal that actually excited you to wake up every morning and get after it. When you have that feeling, your phone is just a phone. It's just the tool you use to call someone, to stay in contact with your friends. But when you don't have those goals, those projects, that vision, every little notification becomes irresistible, and scrolling feels like it's necessary. Like you're gonna really miss out if you don't scroll for whatever. So it's not a weakness, and it's just your brain desperately searching for anything to fill that purpose void that you feel. And here is what I learned over time, and it's what really changed a lot for me. It's that you can't just remove social media. You have to replace it with something better. You need to find your next swimming, if you will, because something meaningful enough to consume your attention in a good way. And here is how to do it. Step 1, I want you to define your 90-day vision. So not a 5-year plan, not even a yearly plan, just 90 days. That's 3 months. Research shows that we as humans are incapable of realistically projecting or thinking about more than 3 months in advance. So 90 days is the longest time frame that we can realistically picture and commit to. But 90 days is also long enough to build something real. It's short enough that your brain can focus, but long enough to build something really cool. And I want you to ask yourself this one question right now. What's the one thing that I want to build in the next 90 days that it's worth trading my screen time for? What's the one thing that I want to build in the next 90 days that is worth trading my screen time for? You can pause the video and think about that one for a second. Maybe it's launching your side project that you keep thinking about, or maybe it's getting in the best shape of your life. Maybe it's learning to play an instrument that you always wanted, or actually creating something meaningful like art, building, hobbies. Maybe it's transforming some relationships. I want you to really think about this and make it specific, make it matter to you. Make it real, make it yours. Next, I want you to move on to step 2, which is create your daily vision rituals. There's a reason why as athletes we were told to visualize, and there's a reason why millions of athletes do it. Because visualization fundamentally triggers something in your brain, the same neurons that require, for example, if I'm visualizing swimming, the same neurons fire that are firing during the actual swimming. So for every morning, I want you to spend 5 minutes just visualizing your 90-day goal as if it was already achieved. I want you to see it clearly and really feel what it's like, and make it real in your mind. Visualization works. I've done it so many times. I still do it. It's great. Because when your brain has that vivid image of where you're going, distractions just kind of fade to the background and they lose so much power. Step 3, fill your days with purpose. Here's the main point I'm trying to make today. You don't need to remove scrolling. You just need to crowd it out with more meaningful actions and more meaningful things. So I want you to block time every single day for your goal. Put it in your calendar and treat it like it's training. Imagine you're an athlete training for that end performance at the end of the year. And your deep work sessions are your trainings for that performance. Because when your days are full of meaningful pursuit, there is no space left for mindless scrolling. And even if you feel the need to scroll at the end of the day, I promise you, if you've done hard work that day, you will not feel guilty about scrolling, even if it's for an hour. And here's another question I want you to answer. And it's, what am I building that is so important that I would rather work on that than check my phone? Again, what am I building that is so important that I would rather work on than check my phone? And if you can't answer that, that's not a phone problem. It's a purpose problem.
Look, when I was swimming, I didn't do it alone. I had coaches, teammates, friends, PTs, psychologists, the whole support system. And it's only when I lost that structure that I really started to struggle. And you can't beat phone addiction alone. The big tech is just too powerful. And what you need are people around you, people who are on the same journey, who are also trying to figure out what is worth spending my time on. And that is exactly why I created the Unscrolled Club. It's a free community where you'll get a 5-day challenge to help you get started. And what's most important, you'll find other people working on the same goals, trying to reduce their screen time, trying to find better things to spend their energy and time on. Links in description, and I hope I'll see you inside.
So, swimming gave me 17 years of purpose, but when I stopped, I felt lost, directionless, and my phone tried to fill that void, but it never could. And the truth is that most people will spend the next 17 years of their life moving towards nothing. No goal, no direction, just consuming. But you don't have to be like most people. The difference isn't in discipline or willpower. It's just something worth building, worth spending your time on, that is more interesting than your phone. So my last question I want to leave you with is, what's your next 90 days going to be about?